Hello, my name is Dana of Daylite Knits. What I am bringing to you today is a tutorial on how to cast on the first square in a cozy memory blanket and how to attach the second square. So here are the things that you may need. If you've started a cozy memory blanket, you can add on to it by attaching your next square to the left hand corner, or you can start a new blanket by what I'll show you presently. Also, I will introduce how to attach the second square to that first square or a subsequent square in the sequence. I have some Flexiflips, and the reason I thought a tutorial might be good today is because I don't see very many people using Flexiflips for their cozy memory blankets, and I think it's such a wonderful idea, and I'll show you why. Okay, because I've already started my initial blanket, what I do first is to go ahead and put my Flexiflips into the first 20 squares of my 41 square mitered square for my blanket. So I do 41 squares every time with a size 2 Flexiflip, US 2, or I think it is 3mm Flexiflip. And I go ahead and pick up the 20 squares that I need for the first edge. So, and I count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, and 20. So there's my first pickup edge for, it could be anywhere in the blanket, but it just works best to start on the left hand lower square or the very first square if that's where you are in your blanket. I find that these Flexiflips are just the perfect thing for a wonderful TV potato chippy mitered square blanket. So I go ahead and I do continental knitting. So I go ahead and I start at the right hand side of my cast on edge, and I pick up my second Flexiflip, and I go ahead and I pick up, I like the sharper edge for me to use in my right hand. So here I go, I'm picking up each one of the ones that I stuck the first Flexiflip through. Hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing. And as I go along, I kind of make sure that I actually have 20 pickups, because there are going to be 20 pickups and then 21 cast-ons to make the 41 number in my cozy memory blanket. And what the Flexiflip cast on does, or the use of the Flexiflips does for the blanket, is really make a wonderful seam together of your, just imperceptible. You can't really tell at all that there's a difference in squares. It's just really a really smooth attachment. So now, because I have only 20 on here, I'm going to use a simple cast on for 21 additional. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And then because I have 41 on my needle, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to knit back on the back side. And I'm just going to go ahead and knit all of the 41 stitches that I have on the needle. This is a little bit finicky, but once you get past this first row, it goes really nicely. So actually I'm going to shove these all up, get there, and I'm going to stick my sharper end in there, pick it up, just knit it like usual, this first row of the cast on edge. And I'm just going to go ahead and knit, and you want to get it close as you can because the it kind of makes a little space between the needles right here with this right here. But if you keep your needles fairly close together without splitting them, then you can there's a bug bothering me. There you go. Then you can have a good edge when you go to pick up your next square. Of course, this is going to be the outside edge right here, this first part. Sorry if I'm going kind of slow, but it really is important to do this first row and to have the perfect count in your first row, because if you get off, then it's not very potato chippy. Then you have to rip it out, start over. And I'm not a fan of starting over. I don't mind ripping out. For me, ripping out, I'm a sort of a process knitter, so ripping out is, you know, not the funnest thing I would do in knitting, but once I rip out, I get to knit. So if you look at it that way. And I don't really, I use knitting like most knitters. I use it so that I don't have to wait in if I'm in a queue, drive-up queue, like at the bank or at the pharmacy, I can just knit. Or if I'm going somewhere with somebody and they get to drive and I get to knit, so that makes me happy. Or if I go to somebody's house and we're just having a chat at our social distancing of 6 feet, I can knit in my own little space there and be happy as a clam. Also, you know, knitting is the best thing. Knitting is just the best thing. So this blanket is actually the second Cozy Memory blanket that I have ever made. And it's 41 stitch miter square blanket with 11 squares one direction and 13 squares the other, and it only just ended up that way because it's a nice size for a baby blanket or a lap blanket, and heaven forbid that a baby would throw up on my hand painted yarns. I mean, it would wash, but you know, it's a lot of stitches. And it would wash. Most of these are super wash, but not all of the squares are super wash. I started out by saving each square that I ever did in fingering weight yarn, or 4-ply as they would say across the pond. So now that I have knitted all of my 41 squares, or 41 squares, all of my 41 stitches, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I have 41. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, 20. This is the middle one, 21. And then I'll go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and this, I'll fix this when I go back, and this will be my 20 and 21 stitch. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and start, but this time when I get to the 19th stitch, so here's my first one, kind of loosey-goosey, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. Now the type of mitered square that I do is one that has these lovely kind of textured raised double decrease in the middle. There's different ways that you can do the double decrease, and the way that I do it, because I like that texture in the middle of my squares, I think it really makes it a cohesive blanket. So I'm going to slip the next stitch and slip the next stitch, knit the third stitch that from where I started in the middle and the 19th stitch, and then I'm going to pick up both of those and decrease over that one, so it's a double decrease. And then I'm just going to go ahead and knit the rest of the square, the stitches on the needle, the Flexiflip. And I like to knit with circular knitting needles because I don't lose them. I have lost several of the Flexiflips over the years because the Flexiflips actually jump out of your knitting bag, and I don't know what it is about them, but I guess they're just pretty springy, and they actually like to just leave the bag. Okay, so here we are with that. I'm going to pick up this one and then my last one. Okay, so let's make sure that we have the right count, because the right count in the first couple of rows, I see I split a stitch, but we'll fix that too. Okay, so we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, and the middle stitch, and then I should have 19 here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 19. So I do. So actually I counted right and everything went well, other than a split stitch here and the sort of gnarly the second to the last stitch. But anyway, so now what I'm going to do is what all cozy memory blanket knitters do, is they turn the work and knit back. And the real reason to really like these Flexiflips for the blanket is because they bend a 90-degree corner. That is my dog wanting out, and perhaps somebody in this house would like to let the dog out, please. I have 3 dogs, which I think is actually way too many dogs. And always when you're on the back side, you do not have to count the stitches unless you drop one. You just have to knit through the whole back side, which is a good TV knitting project. And the front side, you just always have to make sure you have equal on both sides, because the front side is where you do the double decrease. And if you get off, it's just, like I said, not much fun to tear out, but it is fun to knit. So, and you can kind of see how I'm knitting here. And I'm talking you through this particular, and this could be your very first square where you would just have an uneven number of stitches, and you would just, I do a long tail cast on and just cast on 41 stitches and then go back, and then when you come back the second time you double decrease in the middle, and that is that. Now I will come back on the second video after I have completed this square, because I'm not going to do a time lapse of me. Well, I could do a time lapse of me of finishing the whole square, but I think it would be better if I just cut this video right here, this tutorial video right here, and then I'll add a second video showing you how to do the second in your row of video, or in your row of squares, miter squares. So we'll see you in just a little bit. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and onto my channel, and I would just love that. Thank you so much. Daylite Knits, Part 1.